Now, Weekend Wellness with Brittany King and Myra Lawrence on CFAX 1070.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Weekend Wellness. New showtime here on CFAX, 3 o'clock Saturday afternoons now.
Yeah, we're afternoon, so a little bit more sleeping in, I guess, Brittany. But,
there you go.
New time, same old, good, informative programming.
Absolutely. Brittany King, Myra Lawrence joining you this afternoon. Thank you for joining us on the show. Really excited, really topical now as the weather is getting nicer. Well, I don't know about that, but we're seeing more daylight anyway, so we can get out there and be active for longer later on in the afternoon. A lot of people are joining run clinics. I know I'm training for the Oak Bay Half Marathon in May, so we're getting out there and doing our cardio. And really topical to talk about this right now. Joining us from Synergy Health, Dr. Jamie Grimes. He's a chiropractor there. He specializes in soft tissue injury repair and recovery, talking about all things injuries related to running and I guess any other kind of knee injuries, back injuries, how to stay fit and stay strong as we try to get out there and be active. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Grimes.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Doctor, my first question is, as the weather is turning nicer and we do want to kind of get involved and it's like you kind of get that spring fever, is there such a thing as maybe trying too much too soon?
Oh, absolutely, and especially with something like running, which is a highly repetitive movement. The tissues need to be prepared to handle that kind of stress over and over and over again. So, and any sport, really, too much too soon always leads to injury.
So with running, you always hear that it's not a gentle exercise. Is it something that we should stay away from? Because I love it. And, I mean, Victoria is certainly a running community.
Oh, I wouldn't say stay away from it. But it's a great form of exercise. It's easy. It's quick. It's affordable for most people. And, our bodies are designed to handle running as long as we do it properly. And that doesn't just mean not doing too much too soon, but as long as we run with the right technique, you actually can avoid having injury and run for years and years and years.
What is the right technique? I heard that, we used to have a big arch in our shoes, and now we don't want that anymore.
That's controversial, and that controversy has been going on for many, many years, or decades, or centuries, really. Everybody's foot's different. Some people have very rigid feet or really stiff ligaments. Other people have very flexible or loose ligaments. That changes the way our foot hits the ground, which of course changes the chain reaction of movements that go all the way up. Some people, need support if they want to run without developing injury, and other people have what they need. And of course, there is a component of having foot strength as well. But what I think a lot of people don't understand is that stability in your foot, which of course leads to stability in your knee and stability in your hip, etc., isn't all based on the strength of the muscles in your foot. It's based on the interlocking shape of the bones in the arch and how snug our ligaments are that hold them in place. Muscles provide a little bit of stability for that, but mostly they provide movement about the ankle, movement of the toes. So it's a combined approach of passive stability of ligaments and joint capsules, the integrity of the bones in the arch, and then the muscle supporting it. All those things have to come together, but then you still have to run with the right technique to not strain that. So everyone's different, and this approach that everybody should be running barefoot or with the barefoot runners, and no one should be wearing orthotics, really isn't true, because it's really individual.
Okay.
Different genetics, right?
Good to know.
So, Dr. Grimes, what are some of the most common run injuries?
Oh, I would say the most common ones would be, plantar fasciitis, shin splints, iliotibial band syndrome, patellofemoral syndrome, or runner's knee, and a lot of course, hip-related problems, hip, low back, sacroiliac joint pain. Those would be some of the most common, yeah.
Doctor, can I get a free session right here?
Yeah, for sure.
I like to run, and I get really tight IT bands. I'm bad at stretching. I'm bad at post-run stretching, and I'm really, really tight in my hip flexors. So I went to get a massage a couple weeks ago, and I asked the therapist there, or the service provider, to just get in there and wrench on my hip flexors in my butt cheek. And I think maybe she loosened up too much. Then I got in a car and drove for 3 hours, and then I reached into the back of a trunk to grab my suitcase, and I felt something go boing. Hence, no running. I've been going to chiro, and I've done some damage to my back, and I'm a fairly strong person.
Okay. It depends on you. Again, specifically how your body works. Maybe you had a pelvic rotation going on. Maybe you have a hypermobile or excessively loose sacroiliac joint. Your hip flexors aren't in your butt, for one, so your hip flexors are all in the front, although some of the external rotators in the hip can restrict hip extension. But I would say that maybe what happened was things were loosened up and you weren't prepared for it, and maybe there was still a pelvic rotation, and that predisposed you to spraining or straining either your sacroiliac ligaments or the ligaments in your spine. And that's what happened when you lifted, is you didn't have any stability because things were loose. It doesn't help that you were sitting in a car for a long time as well, of course. Yeah.
So the importance...
But almost always it's not, the massage itself didn't make your back strain. It just loosened up some things, and you were moving differently.
Mm-hmm.
Your body wasn't prepared to create the stability yet. Another really important thing that people need to understand is that having one hip flexor tight and the other not is worse than having both of them tight. I would rather see patients with tightness on both sides the same than one side tighter than the other, or both sides being too loose. That actually, the scenario of having them equal on both sides leads to far less injuries than if one is tighter than the other, one is looser than the other. And so sometimes when you get treatment, if you're getting one side treated, not the other, those imbalances can occur, which is why we have to check both sides always, make sure that they're both moving the same, and not let people walk away without having that balance when they leave.
Okay.
Doctor, you get out there for a couple of runs. You want to get into training for, say, the 10.73 in May or the half marathon, like our producer, Emily Craig. She came out for a couple runs and just, it wasn't feeling right. And turns out she's got some really tight hip flexors. What do you do? And now can't run. She's got to do some exercises, right, for a month, take a month off. So what do you do when you start to notice discomfort? And whether that's in your hip flexors, your knee, your shin splints, whatever, what are you supposed to do? Obviously not run through it.
Don't run through pain. Because it's, the brain is smart. It's smarter than we are, and it'll compensate. And, of course, that's what leads to these complex injuries where it started with the tight hip. Now you've got patellar femoral pain, and now you're walking differently, so you've also developed a contracture in your hip. That's what happens when you push through any injury, and especially in a highly repetitive sport like running. So the first thing, you need to get it assessed, obviously, if you don't know how to stop it and you don't have the education or knowledge to know what to do. Stop, get it assessed right away. And, of course, prevention methods like stretching, rolling, proper active warm-ups before you start running always help. And I guess, that's the number one thing is really to get it assessed by someone who knows running injuries right away. You can, sometimes, being off for a month is excessive. If you get it checked right away and it's a simple imbalance, we can fix that in a couple sessions sometimes, and you're back to running within days.
And you're not going to see that same injury pop up again a couple weeks later? Is it fixed once
Not if we find the cause of it. And if we can find the cause and why it happens, discuss how to prevent it, the exercises, stretches, the active warm-up, and or giving you strength exercises to prevent it if it's caused by a weakness or an imbalance, then you can, of course, prevent that from occurring. But a lot of times with repetitive stuff like running, it boils down to tissues becoming too tight, imbalances that have led to one side being tighter than the other, causing rotation, making us hit the ground differently because our hip won't extend. There's so many things that occur, and eventually you're guaranteed to run into an injury at some point, especially as you slowly increase your volume.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So as soon as you have signs of foot pain, heel pain, your hip's a little bit tight, your back feels slightly off, and you're involved in a repetitive activity like running, you want to get that checked right away because it only worsens. It doesn't go away.
I bet it happens a lot where, you notice some pain in your foot or whatever when you're running and you just chalk it up to, well, I'm exercising
right.
and it's tough, so of course I'm going to feel pain.
People will try things. Okay, I need some new shoes. It's okay to try a couple things and see if you can alleviate it, stretch it out, whatever it is. But if it's not going away, and we tend to say if it's not changing after 10 days to 2 weeks, you need to get it checked because it's probably not going to go away on its own.
We're talking with Dr. Jamie Grimes from Synergy Health Clinics here. Doctor, what about stretching prior to and warm-up and post?
Yeah, it's been well proven. This is another thing that people seem to go back and forth on, but really the evidence has been there forever. Before an activity, you always want an active warm-up, something that prepares your brain, prepares your blood flow, prepares the muscles for contracting. and gets everything warmed up and ready to be active. Passive stretching basically turns your brain off, makes you want to go to sleep, and is telling your muscles that it's time to rest. So passive stretching is okay only if it's followed by an active warm-up pre-exercise. And post-exercise, passive stretching is very beneficial because it's preparing your body for recovery, relaxation. But if you combine rolling with the stretching, it's a synergistic reaction. In other words, you get far more benefit than the sum of the two. So if you're just doing one or the other, you get a small benefit. You get an exponential benefit when you combine the rolling to push out acid, to remove contractures and trigger points in the muscle, and then the stretching to release all the fascia and all the passive structures that get tight. And that's sort of what your post-exercise recovery should be. And if you're doing an activity that involves a lot of building acid, so anaerobic activities like sprints or hills, things that are getting your heart rate up to the point where your body cannot produce nutrients or the energy for the cells from oxygen alone, and it's producing it through acid or lactic acid, then you have to do a cool down that involves flushing out the acid. So a slow jog for 10 to 15 minutes, jumping on a bike for 10 to 15 minutes with low resistance, just to keep your heart rate up, but with really no. You're not working too hard. You're just getting the heart rate to pump out and breathe out all the acid. So those are the two most important ways to do it. Pre-activity warm-up, you can combine a little bit of stretching for areas that are really tight, but as long as it's followed by the active warm-up, and then afterwards the passive stretching and rolling is the best way.
Huh. So you mentioned rolling, just in case our listeners are unfamiliar. When I did Tour de Rock a few years ago, my roommate Louise Hartland from CTV News, she brought a rolling pin from the kitchen and used that. And I mean, that's what we're talking about when you say roll it out with a rolling pin. I mean, that can do the trick.
Rolling pin will do it. If you've got the luxury of being able to get a massage from someone right away or do it yourself, and then the foam rollers are great, especially for the tough areas like the hips where you can't really get it to it yourself.
And it doesn't tickle. I'll tell you that much.
No.
Having a foam roller doesn't necessarily tickle, especially if you do run a lot and you have tight IT bands. We're talking with Dr. Jamie Grimes here from Synergy. We will take a short break and be right back here with Weekend Wellness.
On April 4th, finally back in Victoria after 4 years, the greatest band of all time, the Glenn Miller Orchestra. Call now, 250-386-6121, or go to rmts.bc.ca.
Pennsylvania 65000.
An evening of hits and timeless classics.
Pardon me, boy, is that the Chattanooga choo-choo?
Yes, track 29.
Boy, you can give me a shine.
From New York, the Glenn Miller Orchestra at the Royal Theatre, April 4th. Tickets on sale now at the McPherson box office or call 250-386-6121. Presented by CFAX in collaboration with the Times Colonist.
There's lots of ways to show someone they're special. Thousands do it every day. But how do you take it to a higher level? This is what Paul Mara Jewelers is for. Finding that unique piece, that's something special for any occasion, and that piece that's perfect for everyday or more formal occasions. Paul Mara Jewelers, the highest level of quality and customer service, and over 25 years of showing people how special they are to each other. Paul Mara Fine Jewelry and Watches, corner of Fort and Broad, and paulmarajewelers.com.
You need money. You own your home.
I need money. I own my home.
Meet Get Acceptance.
Online?
Or on the phone.
Not like a bank.
No, it's a simple application.
Credit check?
Nope. No need for a credit check or income history. And approvals take about 24 hours.
I need the money for...
It doesn't matter what you need the money for. Need $15,000?
$50,000.
Or $300,000. Go to Get Acceptance.
And get...
Accepted. Get Acceptance. When you can't bank on the banks, go to getthatloan.ca. Some conditions apply.
And now, another episode of Television on Radio. Here now is a riveting scene from executive producer Dennis Leary's new show on comedy titled Sirens. Watch closely.
Oh my God, it's not that big.
My God.
Really? I'm the smallest one in my family.
I would love to visit their house for Thanksgiving.
He's covering it up and I can still see it.
How do you buy pants?
looks amazing. Watch the new series Sirens, premiering Thursday at 7:30, only on Comedy. That's a TV station.
From physiotherapy to personal training, chiropractic shockwave, and spinal decompression, Synergy Health Center has you covered.
At Synergy Health Center, we have everything you need to achieve your total body health and wellness goals. A health center for pain, injury, or sports performance services. A fitness and weight loss center for improving and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. And a medical center with surgeons and medical services. We've got you covered as Victoria's integrated health and wellness team. Call today and book your complimentary, no-charge personal training session, pain and injury assessment, or weight loss consultation. Visit us at synergyhealthmanagement.com.
Traffic got you down. We'll get you up and going with more traffic more often. If it's happening, it's here. Victoria's News Authority. CFAX 1070.
We're back on Weekend Wellness, new time Saturday afternoons at 3 o'clock. Join us here every Saturday. And right now we're back with Brittany King and Myra Lawrence. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here. And on the line we have with us today, very happy to have Dr. Jamie Grimes from Synergy for our second segment here. Doctor, thanks for staying with us.
No problem.
Okay, we're talking about running and injuries and injury prevention and soft tissue injuries and stability and all this. What about, you always hear when I'm at, embrace your core or what is it? Not inject your core.
Enhance?
Or just,
I don't know.
No one's core.
Yeah, so all this core business. Does this mean I need a six-pack of abs to be able to do any exercises, or why is core strength so important?
Yeah, you absolutely do not need a six-pack to have a strong core, but and that's only one part of it. But the core, because it's where our center of gravity, most of our weight in our bodies there. It's where most of our movement comes from, and it's really the foundation for the attachment of our limbs. The most important ones, of course, are the legs. So if the core isn't strong and stable, then everything attached to it is unstable, which is, of course, our sacroiliac joints, our lumbar spine vertebrae, our hips, and then everything outward. So it provides the base that allows normal motion and also prevents us from going out of alignment all the time. If we didn't have a strong core, we'd always go out of alignment, then we'd always be predisposed to injury because of overstretching of muscles and ligaments and things that are being held in positions they shouldn't be. And the core is really a combination of our pelvic floor on the bottom, our diaphragm on the top, all of our oblique muscles, and the six-pack abs, the rectus abdominis in the front, but also all of the muscles in our low back, the multifidi, the large erectors, and even our glutes. So it's really that whole package has to work together for optimal function and injury prevention.
So you're not getting that optimal function if you just do 100 crunches before your workout. You need to do other core workouts like maybe plank.
Absolutely, exactly. And plank has been proven to be of all static exercises, so exercises where you're not actually moving or throwing a med ball. It's static, so it's very safe on the joints. It doesn't cause injury. We use it on patients who have injury, but it's been shown in EMG studies to fire the highest percentage of all the core muscles during a static exercise. So it's a fantastic way to maintain core strength and increase core strength without causing injury. Or if you do have pain or injury, it's a way of building your strength until you get out of the injury.
How long, doctor, if we're going to do a core or a plank exercise, how long should we hold it?
Everyone's different. Someone with a very weak core is going to have trouble with 30 seconds in a side plank, and trouble with 4 to 5 seconds to a minute on a front plank. So it's probably, it's relative to everybody. What will happen is you'll start shaking a little bit. And if you're shaking and you're losing your form, stop.
Okay.
Take a minute break, or switch to the other side or switch to the front, and then do it there until you count it out until you start shaking or you lose your form, and then stop and move to the next one. So, and then you should always take about a minute break between the reps. So right, left, and front, and then take a minute break, right, left, front, take a minute break, right, left, front.
How long can you hold your plank for?
I haven't done it in a while, but I know I can hold the side planks up to a minute. The front planks, I think, more than that.
Wow.
Nice. Okay, so that's something to work towards.
Yeah, and of course, when there is dynamic exercises that are good for the core and better than that'll take you to another level. But the plank is kind of like a staple that everybody should use.
Cool.
Okay.
You know what I've seen recently on the internet? Like it's a 30-day calendar, and it does 4 different core workouts, starting with crunches, sit-ups, plank, and something else. And it goes up every day. So by the end of the 30 days, it's a 30-day ab challenge. You've gone up, by 1,000%. And if you follow it, I've only made it to day 16. But
that's good, though. You're halfway there.
Yeah.
Like Bon Jovi.
It's pretty, it's pretty neat when you have something.
No, that's the wrong one.
When you have like a goal like that, or I don't know, a routine or a plan to go by.
Yeah, you should have a plan, right? I mean, it's so hard to keep up with a program if you don't sort of have a plan or direction or how much to do. And that's where sometimes, why the run clubs work, or working with the trainer, or with a run coach, so you know what you should do. But core is something you can do every day, and your core is designed to work every day. So it's not, unless, of course, you're doing extremely heavy weights and excessive range of motions, stuff like crunches, planks, and other, working on a ball, those types of things we can do every day without causing a lot of harm.
Doctor, you talked about like being out of alignment, and then maybe your hips being out of alignment. Most times we don't realize this until we do go and run, or you get a massage that didn't do this to me, or until you actually are injured. How do we know, or when should we kind of find out, say from a chiropractor or someone like yourself, that we are out of alignment? And are you often out of alignment?
People need to think more about prevention, and which means they should be just getting checked regularly, whether they think they are or they're not. Because we all go out of alignment. People that are more active, especially repetitive sports or sports that require high force, it happens, and you don't always know it. Some people are more aware of their bodies and have better kinesthetic sense, and they can tell when they're out. Or people who've had injury before are really aware of the symptoms coming on. Others aren't, and so until you really know that, you really should just be getting checked, even if it's just once a month. Whether it's a chiro or seeing a massage therapist or a combination, or going to a physio, someone who can look at your structure, make sure you're balanced, make sure your leg's not short, make sure your pelvic's not rotated, your hip mobility's there, and can tell you in a very short period of time and fix whatever it is right then and there. That's really the best way to guarantee that you're not going to get injured. Otherwise, you just have to be extremely self-aware and test it yourself all the time, which most people don't do, meaning testing your range of motion, looking at yourself in the mirror and checking if your pelvis is rotated. A lot of people don't know how to do that, so the best way is just to get those checkups every so often.
Dr. Jamie Grimes from Synergy Health, thank you so much for joining us. You are online. You specialize in soft tissue injury repair and recovery, and of course we can find you on Quadra as well, right?
Yeah, Quadra in Mackenzie area.
So we've got some planks to do. We got to beat your minute. Thank you so much for joining us.
It doesn't take long.
Have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. If it's the Colwood Crawl or a mess on the Malahat, we've got your back with more traffic more often. If it's happening, it's here. Victoria's News Authority, CFAX 1070.
Feeling bloated? Serious about losing weight? Want to increase your energy? Consider Candy Gone by Renew Life. This 15-day program works to help eliminate yeast overgrowth in your digestive system, helping you lose weight, regain your lost energy, and improve your overall health. Say goodbye to excess bloating. Say hello to feeling better with the help of Candy Gone by Renew Life. Available at Lifestyle Markets on Douglas Street in Cook Street Village and on 5th Street in Sydney. This product may not be right for you. Always read and follow the label.
Oh, I like yard work.
Take the hard work out of your yard work. Visit Integrity Sales for quality equipment and products that make your yard work easier. Quality is a priority at Integrity Sales. They do soil analysis, they formulate their fertilizer and grass seed blends with performance in mind, and they have all types of yard and garden tools that help you work like a pro. When it's time to enjoy yard work, it's time for Integrity Sales.
I love my yard.
Integrity Sales, 2180 Keating Cross Road, where the professionals shop.
I'm a roofer.
I'm a preschooler.
I wear work boots.
I wear cross trainers.
I have a mustache.
I have a milk mustache.
There are always two sides to the same coin. Like Parker Johnston, being a heavyweight company means lightweight pricing. Vancouver Island's largest roofing contractor has received discounted pricing from its suppliers for a short time. That means better prices. Book a free estimate and start saving on coin today.
Parker Johnston. Online at parkerjohnston.com.
This is Victoria's News Authority, CFAX 1070.
Good afternoon, John Spur with CFAX 1070 News. A 44-year-old man is in custody after allegedly attacking a man on northern Vancouver Island yesterday. The suspect was arrested after police found a 66-year-old man with serious injuries after being called to the victim's home in rural Qualicum Beach. Officers say the suspect was known to the victim. Mounties tracked him down using police dogs. He is due to appear in Nanaimo Provincial Court on Monday. Mounties say the victim's injuries are so severe that they are recommending charges of attempted murder. The woman killed by a semi-truck in downtown Vancouver this morning was in a crosswalk at the time of impact. However, police say it's not yet known who had the right-of-way. Sergeant Randy Fincham says that other people flagged the truck to stop after the impact at West Hastings and Richards Street.
Pedestrians out in the area that alerted the driver to the fact that the pedestrian had been hit, and it was the pedestrians in the area that assisted in slowing the truck down or stopping the truck to the point that the driver recognized what happened. It appears at this point it's quite possible that the driver did not see the pedestrian at the time of the collision or immediately following the collision.
Police are not releasing the woman's identity until the family has been notified. The CEO of Malaysia Airlines subsidiary says that a missing jetliner was inspected 10 days ago and found to be in proper condition. The Boeing 777 disappeared from radar while flying from Malaysia to Beijing with 239 people on board, including 2 Canadians. Search aircraft spotted 2 oil slicks off the southern tip of Vietnam, but no obvious sign of the airliner. Military trucks have been on the move in Crimea, carrying equipment and heavily armed soldiers. The Russians continue to deny that their armed forces are active in the Ukrainian peninsula, but some of the trucks in a convoy trailed by an Associated Press reporter today had Russian license plates and numbers indicating that they are from the Moscow region. In the United States, the American president has continued his telephone consultations with world leaders on Ukraine. Barack Obama was on the phone today with leaders from Britain, France, and Italy, and with the heads of 3 Baltic states. The United Nations has declared today a day to celebrate achievements and highlight the struggles of women around the world. Linda Albin has the report.
Just in case you forgot, it's International Women's Day, and women around the world are coming out in their tens of thousands to make their voices heard, from Afghanistan to the Philippines.
We want to reaffirm our commitment to create an enabling environment for women to become better in what they do.
But in Afghanistan, standing up for women's rights has its risks.
I believe now I've lost courage to speak up.
In Afghanistan and in other countries, women are making progress, but it often isn't easy. Linda Albin, ABC News.
And that's CFAX News to 3:33. CFAX weather, currently rainy, sitting at 8 degrees, should remain that way throughout the rest of the afternoon, maybe hitting a high of 9 degrees. Tonight, more rain, ending around midnight, and then cloudy with a 30% chance of showers, low of 6 degrees. Tomorrow, mainly cloudy, 40% chance of showers with a high of 11 degrees. I'm John Spur. If it's happening, it's here. Victoria's News Authority, CFAX 1070.
Now, Weekend Wellness with Brittany King and Myra Lawrence on CFAX 1070.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Weekend Wellness on CFAX 1070 with Brittany King.
Myra Lawrence, and we just finished off with Dr. Jamie Grimes. Lots of good information there for the runners in all of us, or just getting out there and being physical, Brett.
Absolutely. Running definitely something I'm into these days. I have to be honest with you, something I don't know about, which I'm excited to have her on now to talk about. Maureen Hobbs, registered nurse. She's also a nursing instructor at UVic to talk all things kidney month. Thanks for joining us on the show, Maureen.
Thank you very much.
Kidneys are pretty important, Maureen. Obviously, we need to have a month to talk about them. Kidney disease. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think you're right. Kidneys are really important, and they are life-sustaining, and they regulate our water, and they remove the waste from our body, so it keeps our body in harmony. So when we have kidney disease, we basically are losing that function. And so when we look at it, we have millions of people throughout Canada who really don't know that they're even that they even have kidney disease, and this is because the signs can go unnoticed, and it's very subtle. So with kidney disease, it can happen from either an acute episode, something like a bacterial infection, like strep, or people can even be born with malfunctioning kidneys, or they can be in an age group, over 50, for example, where our kidney function begins to decline, or they can be in a group, an ethnic group, for example, where we know people are more vulnerable to kidney disease amongst our Aboriginal community, our Asians, South Asians, people in the Pacific, the Caribbean, our Hispanic origin. So when we look at kidney disease, it's one of those things where we don't want to take it for granted. Those kidneys are so important to our life, and they bring quality of life to us. So I think the important message is to really pay attention to the signs and symptoms of kidney disease.
What are some of the signs and symptoms of kidney disease?
Well, one of the, I think, most common ones is high blood pressure. And we have many people with high blood pressure, and I think that's on the increase. Millions of people, sadly, are experiencing this. And so when we look at high blood pressure, we're also looking at folks who may have diabetes mellitus, diabetes type 1, diabetes type 2. And this is because with diabetes, sadly, the really tiny little filters in the filtering system of the kidney that, removes all that waste, those get damaged. And so if we have high blood pressure, we can also damage those tiny little filters, and they do not function properly. So, there's a virus that can affect that filtering system as well, and or a cyst in the kidney can also cause kidney disease, or blockages in the kidney. So there's many things. And one of the most important things, too, I think, is when we look at medications, drugs, even over-the-counter medications, making sure that they're okay for us to take. We're all very unique. We're not, all built the same way. And so those medications, and if we're on prescription medications, making sure that we're taking them as prescribed, that's also very important. And having those medications checked regularly by your physician is so critical. And I think the other point to stress is for some of those folks who sadly are addicted to street drugs, to cocaine, to heroin, to these drugs, these people are also at very great risk of kidney disease.
What are some of the things we'll feel if we may be having some kidney issues? I have always heard that maybe if you pee blood, you should go and get that checked.
Yeah, good plan. Good plan.
Yeah, good rule of thumb.
Yeah, hey?
Yeah, and if you look in the mirror one morning and you wake up and you think, wait a minute, why are my eyes so puffy? What's going on with my rings? I can't get my rings on. And what's with my feet? I've got, puffy ankles. These are signs that the balance, that kidney regulating system for water is not functioning properly. And so those are signs that some people will, they'll think, oh, well, I just didn't get enough sleep last night, or, high blood pressure. We know that's what they used to call a silent killer. Now we know if it's checked early enough, so much can be done about it. And I think you're right. With the urine, if you get up in the morning, you think, whoa, what is that? What is that? It's like a tea-colored dark urine. That's another real headlight. Something is not right here. Or if you look in the toilet, you think, wait a minute, what is all that foam in the urine? What's going on here? So I think that those are things. Sometimes people say, well, I don't pee anymore, or I'm always peeing. Those are things that are also signs that something's going. But I think some of the other subtle changes that we sometimes ignore, especially in this fast-paced society, is fatigue and difficulty concentrating. I mean, some people will put that down to I'm working too hard, or I've got so many things going on in my life right now, and I can't manage this. So I think stress is another thing that we need to look at and think, okay, that fatigue may also be related to my body not filtering out the impurities in my blood. And so people think, okay, now I don't feel like eating, so they have a loss of appetite, or they think, oh, I'm gaining all this weight, or I've got itchy skin, even itchy skin. It's one of the largest organs on our body that we tend to sort of ignore, and yet it can be a sign of kidney disease.
Maureen,
Wow.
you mentioned swollen fingers and swollen feet. Last year when I was in the Philippines, I was the epitome of cankle. Sure. And I just attributed that to the humidity and the travel, but that could be my kidneys not working properly?
Well, it can occur in, when you're traveling like that, or you're on an airplane or something. But it is something that if your body is stressed, in a situation like that, the heat, your body is not climatized to that. It may have stressed your body to some extent. And that's another reason why, it may have happened then, but if it happens again and you're here, don't ignore it.
Right.
It could be a sign that, your body is stressed.
What about pain in your lower back? I know I've heard friends go, oh, my kidneys hurt.
Yes. And I think this is sometimes where, again, people can have sort of low back pain. Those little kidneys back there, they're kind of vulnerable. So we have to be mindful of always thinking about, good body mechanics, because we can stress the muscles in our back, and we can have achy kidneys or achy back or achy muscles. And so we don't know until we get that checked out. We don't want to assume that, it's a problem with my kidney, it's a problem with the muscles in my back. It could be early sign of maybe damage down there to your spine. So this is a perfect reason why you don't want to assume. You want to get that checked out with your doctor.
How do we maintain healthy kidneys then?
I think when you think about healthy kidneys, you think about just taking care of your body and never take it for granted. And when we think about that, we have to think about, okay, what is it that keeps me well? And so most people know, okay, I've got to eat right. Well, what does that really mean? It means that we're paying attention to the foods that we're eating. And one of the bugaboos these days is our sodium consumption. And sodium is it's in all of the foods that we eat, and our bodies need it to work properly, right? But how many people do we know are aware of the amount of sodium that they're actually taking in a day? And what we found is that when we have high levels of sodium, eventually that's going to affect our blood pressure, and our blood pressure is going to go up. So when we look at even paying attention to sodium and making sure that we're not stressing our body with taking too much in, that's a valuable thing. When we know, for example, that most Canadians, when you think about it, they're consuming about 3,400 milligrams of sodium each day. That's 3,400 milligrams.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, and it's more than double what we need.
Wow.
So you can think about, well, why are people being diagnosed with high blood pressure?
Right.
They're in their middle 30s, and they're consuming 400 milligrams per day, and this eventually takes its toll on the body. So I think if we look at healthy diet, being on top and reading the labels, seeing that, okay, this tomato juice has got 800 milligrams of sodium in it, but this tomato juice has 200 milligrams or whatever. Making sure that we're really carefully paying attention to those labels is really important. Or if we're not sure about what foods we should be eating, speak to a dietitian. It's really important that we inform ourselves about what foods are valuable to us. And I think that the other thing is that when I've talked about, don't take your body for granted. If you think, okay, I am in a risk group, okay, so I'm over 50, okay, I want to make sure I'm screened. I want to know what my kidney function is all about. It's a matter of a little screening blood test. Within 30 seconds, we can find out whether or not, in fact, we have kidney disease. It could be very early kidney disease, or it could be end-stage kidney disease. And it's all by knowing that we can measure, we can actually see how much damage there is to that kidney by this little blood test. It's called the eGFR. And you want to make sure that you go and you get that checked by your doctor if you do fall into one of those risk groups. And, in fact, at the legislature on March the 13th, which, by the way, is World Kidney Day, we are going to be promoting this screening program that we've instituted through the Kidney Foundation of Canada, BC branch, because we're really into, okay, let's help people know what the risk factors are and then the importance of early detection. And so with this screening program that we're doing, people can find out, well, am I at risk? And, in fact, when this first started, which was in 2011, I guess more than about 2,000 people had been screened in 27 communities. And of that, which is quite alarming, 500 of our residents in BC learned that they had kidney disease and they weren't aware of it.
Wow.
Yeah. That's pretty dramatic, isn't
Mm-hmm.
it? Yeah. And so when you think about if we find out early enough that we have this vulnerability to kidney disease, we can intercept the downward spiral of it because we can go to our doctors, we can find out, okay, I do have high blood pressure, perhaps I need medication. Maybe I have diabetes, maybe things have been going well, but now maybe I'm showing that I've got impurities showing in my blood that I shouldn't be showing. I should be, or I've got proteins. I'm losing proteins out of my blood. So you can go and you can find this out, and then you can be, assisted by being put on a, being mindful of, okay, am I eating too much protein? Am I stressing my kidneys out a little bit? Should I be mindful of doing more exercise or even walking? Walking is so beneficial. We can take care of our bodies by just, being mindful of a good, healthy walk once a day, I like to see.
Mm-hmm.
Or if we're smokers. Smokers, we know so much about smoking now that we didn't know even 10 years ago, but we also know how we can help people with smoking cessation and how physicians can also help with that process. And it's one of the hardest things to kick, but they can do it. They just need to get a little help. So I think that we don't want to think shame and blame here. We want to think we're human beings and we want to take care of our bodies and our families. I think, quite honestly, I think we manage our homes, our kids, our work. We're caregivers, but we also have to kind of manage our own bodies.
We are talking with Maureen Hobbs, registered nurse, a nursing instructor at UVic, and a board member with the Kidney Foundation of BC. Stick with us. We'll be right back after a quick break here on Weekend Wellness.
The Weekend Wellness Show is brought to you by Synergy Health Center.
At the Sticky Wicket, there's a food special every day of the week. 7 days, 7 specials. If only there was time to list them all.
Come on, man. Yeah, give us a couple at least.
Order a beverage and get 49-cent wings every Wednesday from 2 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Or Toonie Tacos every Tuesday from 2.
Done. Now what else?
Seriously, time's up. Check out the Sticky Wicket Facebook page for more. Or drop by. Your friends are already here. 919 Douglas Street in the Strathcona Hotel.
And now a word from your Subaru dealers. Today's word is ice. Skating on ice is fun. Driving on ice, not so much. That's when you need a Subaru with full-time symmetrical all-wheel drive and traction control. It handles so well you'll be cool as ice, even while sitting on heated seats. Right now, get a $500 holiday bonus on a new 2014 XV Crosstrek. A bonus that might have you singing Ice, Ice Baby, or just singing happily.
Visit Saunders Subaru on the Old Island Highway.
Have you been living with a water entry problem in your basement or crawl space? Have you been reluctant to deal with it because you saw the mess and heard the cost next door at your neighbors? Well, Earth Service Drain Master has been solving water entry and drainage problems economically for 32 years. Trust our drainage team to restore, repair, or renew your existing system back into working condition. Call Earth Service Drain Master at 250-479-0195. We will be glad to arrange a visit and assess your problem.
Your best choice for selection and value in flooring is locally owned Camino Carpets and Flooring. You'll find everyday low prices and all stock in Camino's 7,000 square foot warehouse. It's loaded with a great selection of laminate, engineered hardwood, vinyl, and tile, much more than just carpets. Whatever you need on your floors, Camino's seasoned sales staff and professional installers will save you time and money. Just call for a free estimate. Camino Carpets and Flooring. New location, new showroom, same great savings. 3950 Quadra Street across from Lumber World.
We're more than just your traditional jewellery store. Hi, Jeffrey here from Barclays Fine Custom Jewellers. From our relationships with trusted international companies to the benefits of belonging to the world's largest independent buying group, we can assure the best pricing on the latest jewellery fashions. We travel extensively each year to source suppliers that are unique to Victoria with the highest in quality and craftsmanship, so that all you need to do is travel to us.
At Barclays Fine Custom Jewellers, we know it's not just jewelry. Visit us in Oak Bay Village or barclaysjewelers.com. From physiotherapy to personal training, chiropractic shockwave, and spinal decompression, Synergy Health Center has you covered.
At Synergy Health Center, we have everything you need to achieve your total body health and wellness goals. A health center for pain, injury, or sports performance services. A fitness and weight loss center for improving and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. And a medical center with surgeons and medical services. We've got you covered as Victoria's integrated health and wellness team. Call today and book your complimentary, no-charge personal training session, pain and injury assessment, or weight loss consultation. Visit us at synergyhealthmanagement.com.